Hi, I'm Joe Dunko. I'm a software engineer at Bridge AI. In a past life, I did a ton of hackathons and cool projects and stuff. And in a past life, I got super into Bitcoin. So from 2011 or so, I was mildly obsessed with cryptocurrency, and I learned way too much, way too fast. I mined a bunch. I bought a miner and kind of was really excited about the idea of digital currency. And that kind of rolled off like around 2013. So right before all these altcoins kind of got started, right when Ethereum was really picking up steam. So I don't really know much about like altcoins and stuff like that, but I have a lot of opinions on like what cryptocurrency is good and bad at, and like I've kind of seen a lot of the things that a lot of people rediscover every time like the Bitcoin price goes up, and then everyone like asks all these questions, and then like the same answers come up every single time. I mean, my current opinion is it's not good for anything. Um, I think there are things that it could have been good for, and things that like it could still be good for one day. But right now, kind of all cryptocurrencies are really bad at everything they do. Um,
Why is that?
so with with Bitcoin in particular, it's because the community is too sharded, and there's a very small number of large mining companies, mostly out of China, that pull a lot of weight in the Bitcoin community. So basically, if a Bitcoin developer or anyone wants to make a change to the Bitcoin protocol, what they'd have to do is they'd have to get the change merged, which is a whole, there's only so many people who can even merge it into the repository. Then it would have to be included in a release, which there's only like two people who can sign that release. I think maybe one. It's been a long time since I've looked, but Jeff Garzak or somebody who was the person who Satoshi Nakamoto actually gave the public signing key to, or the private signing key to, for signing the software. So that then it has to get released. Then you have to convince all the miners, at least 50% of them need to start using that version. So the thing is that there's a lot of money riding in Bitcoin currently existing as is. So that means like it being slow. So the average block time is only 10 minutes. So the only time you actually know if your transaction goes through is at 10 minutes at the minimum. You can, there's some heuristics you can look at that, like, yeah, it's probably going to go through if so many miners report that yes, they've received it, if your fee is high enough to actually be included in the current block, all these other things you can look at and make a reasonable assumption. But the only way you know is every 10 minutes, assuming you're including that block. The block size is really small. It's about 1.5 meg. And interestingly, a lot of people don't talk about that older Bitcoin is actually harder to send and more expensive to send because it's larger, because it's pieces of older Bitcoins. So like Bitcoins need to, so if somebody sent me like two halves of Bitcoin and I wanted to send that Bitcoin, I can't just say like, I want to send this Bitcoin. I want to say, I want to send this half, then that half. And you can see how that can actually accumulate. If I received a bunch of really small transactions, then I want to send one big transaction, I actually need to send all of that Bitcoin. It appears in the network as smaller transactions, or at the very least, you have to pay the fee as if they're smaller. So it like, Bitcoin actually gets more expensive to send transactions. It's a little weird, but basically it just doesn't scale well. And there's a lot of people who are like the Lightning Network and other cryptocurrencies and other things that people are trying to create to say like, oh, we solve these problems and we also should get paid for it. And basically the motivation is not there for anyone to push these changes forward. There's too many fighting parties and too much money like in the current system. In order to understand Bitcoin, you need to understand the blockchain and mining. The blockchain is a data structure that's kind of newer, but it's very similar to like previous things. It's a derived work that some people call revolutionary, but really isn't. It's just Bitcoin is an interesting implementation of it, where where it is write only, and you can only write forward. So the latest pieces of your blockchain, links, or I don't really know, blocks as the Bitcoin network calls them, the latest block needs to agree with the cryptographically with the previous block, and so on and so forth. So you can't just change a random block in a blockchain, because it would make it so the future blocks all disagree with that current block. So it basically makes it so it's very difficult to undo a history, and it makes it very easy to create a verifiable history of anything. Like the Bitcoin network does it for transactions, but it's if you're trying to make something like hack resilient, Walmart was looking at it for tracking produce from place to place, because you can only add to it, and their vendors can't just go and lie, like can't submit something that's different than previous things, because it all has to cryptographically agree. And then there's is that use case actually valid? You could just lock down the database if it's central. That goes down a whole path of is the blockchain actually useful, or is it just like a weird limiting factor? It depends. Enter mining. So mining is what they call offering compute to verifying blocks on the blockchain. Basically, what happens is the blockchain, every 10 minutes ish, creates a new prompt and says, can you solve this prompt? And then everyone who's participating in the Bitcoin network does something called hashing, which is a cryptographic method of trying to solve this prompt. And on average, that prompt takes 10 minutes to solve, and whoever solves it does two things. They get the transactions they choose included in the next block. They get all the fees from those transactions sent to their own Bitcoin address, as well as a reward for mining that block. Last time I checked, I think it's 12.5 Bitcoin. It's been a while since I've checked. So the idea of mining is two things. One, it decentralizes the network, so not just one computer and one person owner has the blockchain history. Anyone who participates in the network can. And then also the amount of compute power in the blockchain limits who can hack it. So there's this idea of like a 51% attack, which has been disproven. It's actually could be less. I think you can do like a 33% attack, where if you own more than a certain percentage of the blockchain, you can do weird things. And if the more you own, the more weird things you can do. Those things being like making the network disagree with other people. It's normally write-only changes, so it's not you don't have to worry about a random thing, a random block changing, but you do have to worry about people being able to double spend Bitcoin if they own more than 50% of the network, and things like that. So an interesting thing that people are talking about now is the environmental impact of the Bitcoin mining network. So something about 5% of the world's electricity is currently being spent on cryptocurrency, something absurd. And that's a very recent development, because the price of cryptocurrency and the cryptocurrency market, not just Bitcoin, but all cryptocurrencies, has been going up and up. And my thought on this was always, well, if the value that the network is delivering, the value that the network is delivering should always be equal to, or roughly equal to, the amount of money people are willing to spend on mining equipment and electricity and Bitcoin. Because you think if an asset is more valuable, people will invest more in taking care of it. So it doesn't matter how much electricity Bitcoin takes because people are benefiting that much from it. And I held that opinion back when my vision for Bitcoin was that it would be a cryptocurrency, like a PayPal replacement or a Cash App replacement or a Venmo replacement, where instead of going through this third party that has all these like weird, like, you know, laws and my vision was that it could replace cash, like no limits, no an irreversible way to send somebody money that like you could do through the internet anywhere in the world. No legal weird stuff you have to do. You don't have to be over 18 to do. Obviously, I was under 18 when I was really excited for it, because that was really cool to be able to buy things on the internet without needing to steal my parents' credit card. But now most people see cryptocurrency as a store of value, especially now that the block size is too small to actually transfer any Bitcoin in a cost-effective way. So it's, in my opinion, a shame. I'm less excited for cryptocurrency now because people aren't targeting it being a currency, and if they are targeting it being a currency, they're like doing all these other things that, in my opinion, makes it so that the coin isn't decentralized enough or valuable enough or interesting enough to be useful. I don't know much about the Bitcoin tax stuff. I do know that my accountant was very careful to like tax cryptocurrency as capital gains, like just as if you win like on the stock market. So if you had it invested for a certain amount of time, like over a year, I think it counts as a long-term investment. Under a year, it counts as a short-term investment. They get taxed differently. One thing I thought was funny was that, so cryptocurrency, or excuse me, with stocks, there's this thing where if you buy more stocks and then sell stocks, you can sell your older stocks, like, and that counts as capital gains, even though like if you're selling physical stocks, you're selling like your newer stocks or whatever. Cryptocurrency is individually like recognized, like you can actually track cryptocurrency, like when was it transferred. And right now they're not doing the thing where like did you hold this specific like this Bitcoin for more than a year, tax that differently than this Bitcoin that you held for less. I mean, I assume the IRS just isn't that interested in figuring out which specific Bitcoin you're dealing with. But I thought that was interesting because they could, and it'd be really easy. And that's kind of the cryptocurrency dream, is something that's completely trackable, which some people say that's not. But in my opinion, I think that's one of the coolest things, is that like with cryptocurrency, you could actually have a nonprofit that if you donate specifically cryptocurrency, you could watch that cryptocurrency go into their account and see exactly what they spent it on, or at least what account they sent it to. And in the crypto dream in the sky, like that person or individual, like you could see what they spent it on and vice versa, and you could actually see your financial impact, like in a non-profit sense. And there's like some privacy concerns, and people say like, oh, this is awful, this is bad, but I think it's like the coolest thing, like that you could actually have a completely transparent dollar for dollar, watch it flow through nonprofit, which the government is the world's biggest nonprofit, and that would be really interesting to see. You know, watch your tax dollars actually be spent in real time. Watch what accounts they go to. Like, I don't know, someone would say like that's a privacy concern, or like that's a security thing. Like, oh man, they can't know we're sending $1 billion to Boeing. Like I don't know.
I had a pretty good feeling we were saying.
Exactly. Like, I don't know. Is there something the government doesn't want us to know they spend our money on?
What would the common citizen do with that information?
I mean, probably check to see if Ted Cruz is just sending Bitcoin to his own address or something. I don't know. Make sure that... have you guys read about how one of the most common things for So the New York Times, it does not take that many books to actually get on the New York Times bestseller list. It takes about 10,000, is my understanding, to get on there for a week. 10,000 a week. So a lot of people actually buy their own goddamn books for that first week. And so the Republican Party will actually buy 10,000 copies of your book using Republican donated money. This happened with Ted Cruz's book. This happened with Trump's book. Like, what? Like, you can just buy your own book and get it on the, like, and that's okay because they use your money if you donated to the Republican Party. If you're an actual Republican fighting for Republican things, and like they spend your money on some books that like literally the profit goes to some individual. That's weird. And like obviously I should probably fact check that more, but that's my understanding. And that's dumb. Anyway, that would be much harder to do with a more transparent financial system. And that's the Bitcoin dream. Ethereum is I would say less a cryptocurrency and more a platform where you could send not only tokens, but also borrow computing power. And you can build off things, right? Like you can actually write a little program that send it through the network. And if anyone sends anything to that address, you can do something with it. Like you can make a program that says when somebody sends money to this address, give half of it to me and donate half of it. Or you could build so many different things. Like you can make other cryptocurrencies out of this, which a lot of people do. They call them ERC20 tokens, which is like the standard for building cryptocurrencies on top of Ethereum. You can use them to make cool tools like paying people certain percentages of things. You can do like taxes through it, or like there's so many cool things you can do with Ethereum. I think it's definitely revolutionary. I think that the devs are still learning like what you can or couldn't or should do with it, and it's a little on the nose. Like I don't trust Ethereum itself to like always work forever, but I think that it's really cool, and I think it's a developer's cryptocurrency. It's cool. It's a good idea. Is it actually helpful? Is it actually useful? Who knows? But it's really cool. So you could use that power to actually create a cryptocurrency, and most altcoins are Ethereum-based. They call them ERC20 tokens, Ethereum-based tokens, and I think that most of these cryptocurrencies you see now, they do a bunch of things I think are wrong. Like the whole pre-mining thing, I think it's garbage. Like you should not be able to
What is pre-mining?
So Bitcoin, let's compare it to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has a mining system. You receive an award every time a block is mined, and that is actually how Bitcoin is created and distributed. There was no, Bitcoin to begin with. It was just whoever was mining, they got Bitcoin for contributing to the network. More people mining, the more people it divides to mildly evenly, depending on how much computing power they give to the network. Every so many blocks, I think it's like every 2-ish years. I don't remember, it's been a while. The block size halves. So originally, not the block size, the block reward size halves. So it was originally 50 coins every 10 minutes, then it was 25, then I think it's right now 12 and a half. And it will forever keep shrinking. And because if you take the log or whatever, it's up to 21 million Bitcoin. That is how Bitcoin is created and distributed. It's very obvious, not very obvious, but it's very, it's set in stone. That's how it's going to work.
Yeah, you don't have something like the Federal Reserve that's just deciding how much money is going to be printed. And all that stuff.
Exactly. And no one just got Bitcoin because they existed. No one can modify that. No one can just assign themselves Bitcoin because they own Bitcoin or buy Bitcoin as the company and decide to assign themselves more shares, or you can't stock buyback. You can't do any of those things. It just is. Now, cryptocurrency first generation like altcoins were basically forks of Bitcoin where they modified like those different variables, the ones I just talked about, block size, block, the speed at which blocks get cut, get created, the reward, those kind of things. And then people came up with the idea, what if we just like gave ourselves a bunch of cryptocurrency, like pay ourselves, like we'll create 50,000 coins for us. That'll be our reserves. And then like everyone else can fight over the rest. That's what the Ripple coin did. And Ripple might be an interesting company that's trying to do good things. But you know, their coin is basically a scam. It has nothing to do with their core business, which is to help banks communicate and exchange currency. The ripples have nothing to do with that. It basically, they created this currency. They said this will be worth money because we're going to use it like for our product. They gave themselves some, they gave people some. I actually signed up because I everyone was signing up. It was free. But now in order to actually get my ripples, I have to give them my social security number because, the government shut down on that. But I don't trust Ripple as a company, so I refused to go and get the ripples that like I was assigned. That was the first cryptocurrency that they were assigned, right? Like everyone who signed up got some. So if you had a bunch of emails, you just sign up and you get some cryptocurrency. That's not how it's supposed to work. That is not the crypto dream. And they have their own reserve and all those kind of things. It was just arbitrary numbers, basically. And people still trade it. People still believe in the Ripple because they own it and all those kind of things. And that was kind of the first cryptocurrency that caught on, that was like, hey, we could just trick a bunch of people. We could trick a bunch of people to basically create a market for our currency. So now you have these ERC20 tokens that are basically the same thing. They'll pre-mine a bunch. They'll say every time there's a transaction, send us some of it. They'll say they're special in some way. They're really not. But my favorite part is that the software can change out from under your feet. So how that works is that Ethereum is has this really cool tool where you could just write software and put it in the cloud. And it's like a Bitcoin transaction. Once it's done and gets confirmed on the network, it's stuck. Like that's it. It exists. And that's how these programs that are in the Solidity is the program language. Excuse me, of Ethereum. There's how these Ethereum smart contracts, that's what they call them, I don't know why, are supposed to exist. They're supposed to be permanent. However, you can actually, as a developer, that has a bunch of problems, right? Like, how do you continuously develop something if it just is, right? You can't write big thousands of lines.
Sorry, what do you mean by it just is?
Like that, it's permanent. Like it's write-only software.
Okay.
And you write it, you deploy it, that's it. Like there's no editing it. It exists in the chain.
Okay. So you're saying that the software gets it's deployed to the chain, you can never change it, and it just, like you just said, it is.
It is. However, that makes it really hard for developers to improve it, fix bugs, anything like that. So what they've started doing is they create this basically a piece of the actual currency is a piece of software that basically points at other software. And they give themselves knobs they can turn by sending certain amounts of cryptocurrency with certain notes or whatever from certain addresses that have certain permissions to say, hey, don't look at this piece of code anymore. Look at this other smart contract we've deployed, this new one. So you can actually, they have these knobs they can turn now on these what should have been immutable contracts. They're no longer immutable. You can just change them out from under people. I can change my contract from like, hey, every time someone sends like cryptocurrency, send it to the right person, to just send it back to me. Like you could just change it. That's just centralization with extra steps. At that point, just run it on your own server.
Do you feel the influence that icons such as Elon Musk has on the crypto market is a good thing or bad thing?
I don't think it matters. Like it's just like any other market and stock and all those kind of things where like somebody gets it's like the GameStop thing or the you know the what was that, the like stock is just a reflection of marketing and like kind of market cap. Like it's all bullshit. It like doesn't matter. Like it's people trading money. It's like the um rich people's casino is the stock market. It's the same thing with the cryptocurrency. Like people get paid to sponsor cryptocurrencies. They're not supposed to. They're supposed to say they haven't. Like people have been sued over it. But like, is it any better or worse that Elon Musk is like, I don't know, saying things about Bitcoin and saying things about Dogecoin? I think like, in my opinion, yeah, they should like say, yes, I'm getting paid or not. I don't think he is. I think all he is having fun manipulating the market and like buying and selling and like just whatever. And Doge is like, anyone who thinks they're like, Doge is weird. It's a Bitcoin fork where they just turned all the settings all the way up and there's no limit. So I think it's like every 10 minutes there's like a million coins made or something ridiculous where like basically $1 billion need poured into Dogecoin every single day in order to keep up its current price of like 50 cents each. It's some ridiculous amount of numbers that just can't add up unless everyone's saving it, hoping to pass the buck later. It just doesn't make sense market wise. And it's completely useless for like sending money because like there's just an insane amount of inflation. It's literally was just like a meme thing that people were using like to send kudos on Reddit. And like that was its original use. Like there was a bot on Reddit that you could send Dogecoin to people and it was a cool little thing to do, but like, you know, like adding a award to somebody or something, like it's just something fun to do. And then Elon Musk, like, oh, they also bought the sponsorship for a race car once, but that was years and years ago. And now suddenly Dogecoin's relevant because some people who like don't know anything about cryptocurrency think like it's going to be worth something. And maybe it is, but it's only because they're tricking someone else that it's worth something and that somebody else also isn't spending. Like the second everyone sells, it's going to drop into nothing. It doesn't matter. Like it's the same as everything else. I think that there needs to be more like as long as there's personal responsibility that like, hey, he's not lying about stuff, it doesn't really matter. If you're interested in mining it, just do it. Be careful with what pool you join. You're going to have to join a pool. A pool is basically a way to maximize your chances of mining Bitcoin by partnering up with other people. Because otherwise you'd be trying to be the one person every 10 minutes who gets the reward. Instead, you become one of, you know, a million people working together, and once they get it, they divide it between everybody. It makes a lot more sense. Definitely join a pool. Be careful what pool you're going to be a part of. They can just pull the Bitcoin out from any time. Make sure you transfer it to your own owned wallet. Pools just like to disappear, or at least historically they have. You don't own a Bitcoin unless you actually own the private key, and it's on your computer, and it's the only copy of that wallet. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't keep some Bitcoin in Coinbase or cryptocurrency in Coinbase or wherever you stole it, but assume it's not yours and like it can disappear at any time. FDIC doesn't count for cryptocurrency, as it shouldn't. But mining, I think, is fun and important, and like, you know, go for it. It's something to do. As for investing, like if you're going to invest, make sure you do like weekly buys. Don't buy all at once. Treat it as like this background process unless you want to try to day trade, but I don't have the balls for that, and like most people can't day trade. Like just day trading is so counterintuitive to the human psyche that like most people just lose money, and people who are psychopaths make the money back because they aren't normal people. That's just how the stock market works. That's how markets work, in my opinion. Just do weekly buys over a very long period of time with some kind of target. And if you believe in the currency that it will go up over time, it doesn't matter if it crashes or whatever. historically all stocks have gone up over time, or at least the average. So whatever. I buy on Coinbase. You can buy on Kraken. I don't know if Kraken is only in Europe or not, but those are kind of the two places where I'd buy. Yeah, it's important to actually own the private key, because the more cryptocurrency that's in one place, the more vulnerable, like the more people are going to be trying to get it. Also, something to know about Coinbase is that it is not a trading platform, it is a broker. It does not have an order book. You cannot see who is buying and selling, or how many people are buying and selling, and what the market actually looks like. They are a broker. They hold the stock for a certain period of time to make money on the edges of the trades. So keep that in mind as you buy and sell. I think Kraken actually is a real trading system. And I think that's like a general theme, is that there's a lot of things that look and say they are something in cryptocurrency. When you dive into it, it is not at all that thing. Like, something will say it, like Ripple says it uses it, that's their cryptocurrency. Obviously their product uses it and it's useful, and it's just not. It has nothing to do with it. It's just is, and it was a way for them to make a quick buck off everyone who, is buying and selling it. Like, they sell their own things and they make money off you. Like, they tricked you. They did that.
All right, so tell us about NFTs.
So NFTs are non-fungible tokens. They're like this recent discovery by like the human race. Like, everyone's for some reason making things NFTs and then selling them for some reason. I think it's super dumb. The people are acting like they're the super new thing, but like, NFTs could have existed. Like Bitcoin can do NFTs. Any cryptocurrency that is able to like have notes associated with it can do NFTs, which Bitcoin you can. You can include things in your transaction. Might be a little expensive, but you can. A lot of people, I think like a lot of the things people are using NFTs for is really dumb. Like selling a picture. Like, I don't think that's very useful, because like you don't like, anyone can see it. It's on the public blockchain. So like, if you sell a photo or something, a video, like, you have to have a file associated with that, right? Like, or a hash or something. But like, does it really guarantee ownership? Because like, the owner, you see the owner passed it to somebody, but it's like one seller. I don't know. I think it's a little weird. I think like the really cool use for NFTs, and like, they used to have a different name for them, and it's lost on me. But basically, identifiable tokens that you could track throughout the blockchain is like, I don't know, anything that people try to make duplicates of or fakes of. Like, for example, like Nike shoes. If you want to say a hypothetical world where if you buy a pair of Nike shoes, Nike will send you a coin of some sort, a cryptocurrency, to your address that you can verify came from Nike's crypto wallet. And if you were to sell their shoes to someone else, they would ask you, hey, can you also send this piece of cryptocurrency so I can say that I have it and I can associate it with this pair of shoes. And the idea is that the shoes would be worthless without the cryptocurrency, and the cryptocurrency would be worthless without receiving a pair of shoes.
So it's acting like a certificate of authenticity.
Exactly. So by itself, it means nothing, and it's not worth anything. The shoes are worth anything, and I think that's what a lot of people are getting confused. Like, is this NFT actually worth anything? The only thing that the NFT is worth is that verification. That's all it is.
Yes, it's my understanding of it is that it's basically a distributed certificate of authenticity, where you're not relying on the piece of paper.
Yep.
It's
and the cool part is that you could verify where it came from. So you can actually watch it bounce around the network, and you can say, okay, this person had it. You maybe not associate it with an identity, but you can be like, it's like Carfax on steroids. The 5 people own this. I can see Nike bought it. I can see when they bought it. I can see when they transferred it. And I think it's a really cool idea, because eventually, like, people can, like, there should only be as many of this shoe or this whatever as there are coins. And I think it does the right thing. It's like it associates ownership in the right way that I think the internet could agree that is good enough. Like, yeah, you can make a copy of the shoes and then, like, give somebody those, like, inauthentic shoes and the cryptocurrency, but suddenly your shoes are worthless that you're keeping, and maybe, you know, that there's maybe some money to make there, or some weird, like, I'm going to sell the legit shoes separate from the legit token, and, like, I don't know, but that makes no sense. Like, why would you do that? Maybe someone can explain to me why, like, maybe this is an awful idea of how NFTs should work, but
Thoughts dreamed up by the utterly deranged.
yeah, like, why would you do that? I don't know. Again, those psychopaths who manage to manipulate the market because they have the exact opposite thought process as, like, normal humans, so they're able to, like, buy the dips and sell the thing, like, sell at the top. I don't know, but that's what I think NFTs are really cool for, and I think people are missing the point right now. I also think that my conspiracy theory is that most people who are buying NFTs are actually sponsored by the people who are selling the NFTs as, like, this, you know, marketing thing.
That would make sense.
It's the only thing that would make, yeah.
Why it's such a big media thing.
Yeah, I think they're just getting, like, a loan and selling it to themselves and then paying it back or some shit. Like, there's no reason why the Charlie Bit My Finger video should have been taken down offline, which I think is, like, you can infinitely duplicate it. Like, and it's not like the video itself is going to be in the coin. Like, and who needs the right? Like, you can sell rights using that, right? Like, you could say, like, here's this rights giver of, like, using the song or whatever, and you can see, like, they sent you a coin and it can have notes associated with it, and using Ethereum you can even make it expire. And, like, there's some really cool things you can do by, like, you know, if they try to sell this coin, just tell them they can't and send it back or something, you know. Like, there's some really cool Ethereum things you can do with NFTs.
So it's kind of like owning the title to a car, but
Yep.
much more transparent and managed.
Exactly. And you'll kind of see, like, a trend with my vision of cryptography, where it's mostly based off transparency and, like, keeping track of assets in a transparent way, and in a verifiable and transparent way. I don't know. Like, I'd like to see Bitcoin update, but it'll never happen. Like, it's done. Like, I don't think it's gold now. Like, it is basically the same thing as gold. Like, Bitcoin is grandpa's cryptocurrency, man. It's only worth money because grandpa has it, and for some reason other people, like, grandpa has convinced everyone it's worth money, even though it's virtually useless. I'd like to see less cryptocurrencies that are just like I want to see less ICOs. I want to see less, like, creating cryptocurrencies. I want to see more use cases that make sense. I think that's the main thing. Is I think that cryptocurrency has been, what's the word? Like, everyone's thinking about money when they talk about cryptocurrency. Like, when do people ask me about cryptocurrency? It's when it's worth a lot of money. Like, oh man, like, it went up by 50%. Oh man, like, how can I make money off this?
Why are we doing this video right now?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I mean, it just fell, like, by 30% or something, like 2 days ago.
It's been hot.
Yeah, it's been hot. Like, why do people?
It's always been a topic in the back of our heads. Not because we're thinking about it, but because other people are talking about it.
Yeah, and the only reason grandpa cares is because it's worth money. Like, a cryptocurrency, I want people to appreciate cryptocurrency because of how useful it is. And I think that it's cool that more people are getting into it because it's worth money. But that's
the least interesting thing about it.
Exactly. Like, the fact that it's worth money, if anything, is, like, the worst part about it, because that makes it so that there's so many perverse incentives to, like, make random cryptocurrencies and, like, all this bullshit, right? Like, I don't know how it would happen. Like, somehow a cryptocurrency that wasn't worth money. Like, you mean a database? from what I've seen on Twitter, a lot of cryptocurrency devs who like went into like the making a cryptocurrency thing, like crypto-based thing, basically have given up. Like almost everyone who's into crypto has given up on, like, basically they're too deep in the scheme to like actually give up, but like they're emotionally drained. They're not contributing to the world in any meaningful way at this point. Like most Bitcoin startups are just startups that should exist without not Bitcoin, but cryptocurrency startups are startups that should exist without being cryptocurrency. I think that we'll see more. The only ones that really succeed are the ones that are nonprofit, open source, like IPFS and like Ethereum, and like things that are only worth money incidentally, and like are very tied into the crypto as like they really thought about like, hey, the crypto is tied to this resource that is shared or something. Like IPFS is really cool, Ethereum is really cool, but then you have to trust the devs to not just fuck off. So I don't know. I think that the future is bright, but not in the ways people think it is. I think a lot of people are frustrated at cryptocurrency because it fucked up a lot of things. Like it makes it hard to, it's bad for the environment because it uses a lot of electricity. It's bad for like gamers and because it uses a lot of hardware. It's bad for like a ton of different things. It's not even a good currency anymore. Like none of them are. So like what is it good at? I don't think anyone knows, and I think it's like people know less now because like these things are worth so much money that like suddenly they're good at being a store of value, but not like any of the cool things that are actually like, you know, useful to humans, except for making some people who got in early money and like passing the buck. I don't know.
All right.
Is that it?
There's the closing remarks.
There it
The
is.
closing
Flashing
remarks.
red over here.
The closing remarks. I don't know.